Starting Goalies brought to you by your local New England Audi dealers. Experience Audi Quattro all-wheel drive tonight. Robin Lehner, not a lot of luck in his last 8 games, but this 22-year-old whose father has coached Henrik Lundqvist is going to be a really good NHL goalie, and he's played well against Boston in the past. Tuukka Rask in his last 3 starts, pretty darn near perfect. A 3-0 record with a .967 save percentage. The Bruins are on their longest streak at home without a regulation loss since October of 08 through January of 09. Way back at the beginning of the Claude Julien days. The game is on. The Bruins scored 3 straight goals in the first period at Nashville. Ottawa has allowed more first period goals than any NHL team, Brick.
Yeah, the Bruins want to start strong. We pointed out at the top of the broadcast their dominance at home. That's where they are right now, and they want to continue.
Bobby Ryan in the top 10 of the NHL, and goal-scoring Rask has to make a save on Clark MacArthur as the puck comes swinging across the goal mouth. If the Bruins had anything they could nitpick about, maybe it was even more than that, was a little defensive zone sloppiness in Nashville.
Yeah, especially late in periods, and that's an area that we highlighted that they need to be better at. But here we are in the first minute. First real good chance goes MacArthur's way. He's having a difficult time finding the back of the net right now.
Oh, that line, MacArthur, Turris, and Bobby Ryan has easily been Ottawa's most dangerous. Zach Smith down on his knees in the corner. Gregory Campbell picks it up, brings the puck cross ice for Jordan Caron. Mark Mathot snaps it back in front of the penalty bench. Smith tosses the puck into McQuaid. Corner McQuaid locks down on the stick. Smith pokes it around in front of the Zamboni doors, brings it back to Mathot, the long wrist shot, and Rask makes the save. Ottawa takes a ton of shots, number 2 in the league, only behind San Jose, 33.2 per game. But on the other hand, they allow 34 on goal per game, so it's been up and down the ice in front of Paul McLean this year.
Yeah, and that's where your goaltender is going to be a difference maker. If you're going to give up shots, you got to let your goaltender see it, hoping he has good rebound control and protect the front of the net. And until they do that on a more consistent basis, they're going to be right around 500 all year.
Torrey Krug picks the puck up off the end boards, slips it past Milan Michalek, and here's Jason Spezza back at his own line, trickling it into the Boston zone. Torrey Krug out there with Dennis Seidenberg right now. Krug out to Milan Lucic, tries to pull it around Spezza. Krug slings it up past to Ginla. Leonard slows it down. Carlson in the corner. Krejci confronts him. Lucic swoops through, takes the puck. Spezza tries to harass him. Lucic can't move the puck all the way back past Conacher, but Krug takes possession back for Boston. Bruins wearing their Men in Black uniform systems. They are 3-1, wearing the 3rd alternate uniform this season. Adam McQuaid with Eric Condra having a look for Ottawa. McQuaid steps in front of Tuukka Rask. Gives to Ryan Spooner. Matt Fraser snaps off a shot, and Leonard has to make the save.
Again, the speed of Spooner just gets himself open on a little curl inside the offensive zone. Allows McQuaid to make a nice short little 7-8 foot pass, and now that quick release with Fraser coming across the middle of the ice. Nice little exchange on the breakout, speed through center, even though it's a long distance snapshot. You got something in the offensive zone because the first opportunities are shots on goal basically have been by Ottawa.
Spooner will be able to remember that 3-assist game for the rest of his life. Here's Riley Smith's shot. Really an arrival night for him, and he's got a 4-assist, 2-game scoring streak going. Patrice Bergeron in the corner bounces it around. Chris Phillips emerges with the puck. Goes straight up the ice to Kyle Turris. 2-on-1 with MacArthur, but the pass a little too far forward. Wojcik slams MacArthur into the end boards, and there's Bergeron in support of his defenseman. Chara up the middle, but it's into Turris' skates in the center circle. Smith almost picks off the pass. Smith was telling us this morning he spent about 2 hours coming through customs and immigration after dashing back to Toronto for the holiday.
Sounds like fun.
Oh, yeah. Michalek in front of his own bench for Ottawa. He's got Spets on the near side. Throws it down into Seidenberg's corner. Campbell rides Michalek to the end boards. Michalek comes out of there, holds it on the forehand. The thought wrists the puck through the slot. Seidenberg bunts it ahead to Caron, to Daniel Paille, who's back after missing 7 games with concussion symptoms. Campbell around behind the goal. Gryba sends Paille right up to the end boards, and Paille gets his stick in with Gryba. Corey Conacher chugs over the line, tosses the backhand across to Mathot below the dots. The shot deflects in on Rask, and he has to hang on with the glove. Daniel Paille getting right back at it.
Talked a little bit about him earlier and what he brings to the Bruins lineup, and that great speed on the outside. Real good at getting to pucks first in the offensive zone on cross-corner wraparounds. Good penalty killer, just a veteran guy that knows what it takes to win. He was missed, even though the guys that came up for Providence did a heck of a job in his absence. You want those veteran guys back in the lineup, and he'll take a little while to find his rhythm.
Spooner pressures Chris Phillips, steals the puck. Phillips stacks up Spooner. Greening brings it across. Cody Ceci. It's our first look at him. He gets it off a stick and into the protective netting. The faceoff will be back at the center dot. Cody Ceci is an Ottawa kid, played for the Ottawa 67s, the junior team up there. Had posters of the Senators all over the walls, and since he's a call-up from Binghamton, he's living at home. He's sleeping in the same bedroom with the Ottawa Senators posters in it, except now he's one of them. That's a pretty cool story. Actually has appeared on the ice with the Senators much earlier in his life during the Skills Festival that they have each year. Still photographers himself with Mike Fisher. Gryba tees up, the drive just wide. Spezza tries to pry it into the goal, but can't get it through Seidenberg and Rask. Conacher spins the puck through the slot. Krug takes possession for Boston. Out to Jerome McGinley. Ottawa in the middle of a change. McGinley snaps the puck around. It gets under Leonard's stick. Gryba knocks it down in the corner. McGinley cuts it off behind the goal. Gryba knocks down McGinley. Lucic goes in and gets right through Jean-Gabriel Pageau, but now Pageau takes the puck, stumbles at the red line. Bartkowski whips it up the boards. Condra into the corner. It comes off of Bartkowski's stick to the near side. McGinley picks Pageau's pocket. The pass behind Soderberg. He has to swoop back and tap to Bartkowski, who gets it just past Condra to McQuaid to Soderberg. Poke checked away by Jared Cowan. Zdeno Chara past Soderberg. Neither team finding an attacking rhythm yet. Eric Condra off the boards and bounces over Boychuk's stick. Chara up through the seam as Spooner came in behind the defensive blue line to get the rush going.
A little drop pass again by Fraser, indirect. Sorry, make that pass on an offensive zone rush, or I should say neutral zone rush. Got knocked down and unfortunately was offside. Was that against Toronto? He left it back. The Bruins had a 2-on-1. He just couldn't stay on side because his momentum when he got knocked to the ice. Again, he used it right there in center ice.
Cowan wrists it into Chris Neal's legs. Neal over the spoke B. Chara can't clear the zone. Boychuk turns away from Smith. Chara the long diagonal to get the puck out of the zone to Fraser, and Fraser gets across the red line and trickles it in deep. Bergeron the front man on the forecheck, and here comes Ceci. The backhand pass, MacArthur redirects it. McQuaid chases back, indirect for Seidenberg. Erik Karlsson jumps down, swivels it middle, but gives it away to Riley Smith. Smith bounces it forward from Marchand, and it's real played with a high stick.
I thought he was going to. Okay.
No.
You're right. I thought it was going to be a penalty on Marchand.
Yeah, maybe it is. They're opening the door. And Marchand is going in. Yep, that's what it is. Bruins will be shorthanded when the game resumes. Boston Bruins Hockey on NESN is brought to you by the all-new Sierra, designed and engineered by GMC. Incredible thinking in the form of a truck, and it was high stick.
Well, Brad Marchand at 5'9", Jack, he uses an unusually long stick for a guy that height. Sometimes when you try to pull your stick around a guy, it's difficult really to contain it or control it when it gets up high. Catches MacArthur up high with the stick when he had a chance to step around him, and that's your high stick call.
Patrice Bergeron and Jordan Caron paired on the penalty kill up front with Chara and Boychuk, the defensive pair. And Ottawa is offside. The Senators have scored power play goals in 4 consecutive games. They're 5 for 16 in that span. Ottawa 1 for 3 in a dominant 5-0 victory against the Pittsburgh Penguins on Monday before the Christmas break.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a message by Paul McLean or not. That was a 17-second opportunity with the Turris combination out there with Ryan. And a quick change on the offside.
Not happy about it. Erik Karlsson, the fleet-footed defenseman, sprays it off the end boards. Zibanejad and Rask with a great read because Zibanejad had the set play and he was going to take that bounce.
No, the Bruins are trying to stand up in the neutral zone, which they should. And Ottawa goes for the long pass for behind the red line, indirect corner. Nearly worked.
Phillips loops it into the corner. Paille back, rips it around. Phillips blocks it with the body, comes middle of the line, slips it to Spezza, the drive. Chara takes the puck and wrists it the length of the rink.
That's a good play by Chara. He just lets Zibanejad get in behind him, but he makes the shot block. Not only blocks it, just deadens it, gets an easy clear.
Here comes Karlsson again. Out of the near side, Ceci, a puck-rushing defenseman. McQuaid slams into him and then gets knocked down to Bobby Ryan's check. Puck squirts up the slot. Spooner can't poke it away from MacArthur. It's into Karlsson's legs. He fires it off the boards. Spezza swivels the pass and gets a little too much juice on it back to the neutral zone. Karlsson turns the stick. Spooner couldn't keep his edge. Ceci starts it out right up the middle, now deliberately into the center circle. Turris feeds it off the boards for MacArthur. Boychuk stacks up MacArthur. Seidenberg takes the puck. Good tandem D by the Bruins. Turris gets underneath Bergeron. Ceci from away from the boards. Turris poke checked away. Bergeron takes it, muscles to center, backhands it across to Caron as Marchand escapes the box. And Bergeron off of Ceci's legs. Marchand almost had a point-blank chance.
Another strong penalty kill by Boston. Good structure, good decision-making, good effort, good sacrifice. Those are all the elements of a quality penalty kill.
41 seconds out of the 2 minutes in the attacking zone. That's not a heck of a lot. And 0 shots on goal during the power play. The Bruins now have killed 24 out of 25. And here's Iginla looking for Krejci. It rattles around. Greiba to the near side. Iginla with great positioning and using the shoulders and hips to keep Greiba from taking the puck.
Elusive through the neutral zone. He picked up that bouncing puck that got behind Krejci, and he beat 3 guys to get the puck into the offensive end.
Iginla really reaching the peak of his game in the last half dozen or so. He's been so productive. And he was being productive even before the points were coming, but now they're on the way.
Yeah, the goals were difficult to come by early on in the regular season. It took him about 8 or 9 games to get his first, but I'll tell you, the last 9 since the injury bug started really wreaking havoc with the Bruins, his game is really elevated.
Chara turning away from Zibanejad, who was questionable for tonight's game with an upper body injury, but obviously good enough. Pajot scrapes it away from Spooner and actually fires it on Leonard. Now Pajot gets it forward to Zibanejad. He lifts the backhand out of the zone. Soderberg to Seidenberg, across to Krug, much easier to pronounce. Here's Spooner with the quick stop in front of the penalty bench doors. McCulloch leads Condra, back to McCulloch. Krug gets his stick in the way. The puck slides past the post and good tracking by Rask. Krug off the boards. Phillips right back to the Boston line. Spezza to McCulloch. Fires on Rask out of the glove. Seidenberg knocks the puck across the goal mouth with McCulloch pressuring. And Conacher couldn't knock it in the open side.
He was trying to give the puck to Rask to get a face-off, and Ottawa just crashed into the net, kept it alive.
Conacher with speed around. Boychuk cuts to the middle. Saved by Rask. Rebound loose in front. Ceci gets cleaned out as Chara and Smith hit him, and the Bruins break up ice 4-on-2. Marchand closes the shot off the post. Cleanly beat. Leonard Rang off the inside. inside of the pipe, went out the far side of the goal. Brad Marchand with a terrific snapshot.
Well, after the Bruins do just enough to defend in that slot area with Chara freeing the puck up, it was Marchand who had the chance.
Marchand trying to weave inside against Greiva. Torres takes it away, but Riley Smith is in the seam. Ryan over to MacArthur. Ryan lifts Krejci's stick. MacArthur lifts Seidenberg. Seidenberg too strong on the stick, and he flicks it ahead to Lucic. Now Lucic lugs it out into the neutral zone. Iginla holds at the line, trickles it ahead for Krejci, looking center, but Greiva blocks the pass intended for Lucic. Seidenberg with a big hit, knocks down Ryan and gets the puck in deep. Krejci back to Seidenberg, pulls it off on the backhand, the snapshot. Ryan with a clean block, settles the puck and chips it in deep.
When they go back to that Marchand chance, Jack, he had a number of options. He had Bergeron coming late. He had Chara coming late. He had a net drive on the far side, and he did not turn down the shot. Turned out to be a really good decision. Flat out beat Leonard, but caught the pipe.
Jordan Caron bangs the puck off the boards. Gregory Campbell with a sweet move. Greening losing it as Campbell reached around and tapped the puck away.
Well, Paille had a lane into Caron, but Caron thought he might go behind the net with it. He was a little deep.
Bruins are offside. 8:07 to go in the first period. Corey Conacher getting a chance really close. And then Brad Marchand at the other end. 0-0 still at TD Garden. Rick, you were talking about how the big players have done big things at a big time.
Yeah, with so many injuries to role players and key veteran guys, you look for your core players to step up. And in the last 9 games, the Bruins' core players have done just that. The Bergeron line, just in general, Marchand is up this game. Bergeron consistent, but he's a +6 in that stretch. How about Riley Smith? Better than a point a game, 2 game winners. Krejci's been there all year, better than a point a game in that stretch. Iginla has really elevated his game, and of course Chara and Rask, the two guys that have been just terrific over that last stretch of games. Rask, of course, all year, the 5-1 record. That's 6 decisions in those 9 games. The save percentage over .940. Gave up 4 goals in 1 game. That was his 1 loss. But his numbers have just been eye-popping. Chara's been dominant. You know, I mean, you say, wow, 6 points, how is that dominant 9 games? Well, he's playing about 25 minutes a game, and he's just been so hard to beat defensively. And he's been critical to the Bruins winning, amassing points, working power play units, killing penalties, every situation. So the core guys stepping up in the absence of a lot of the key role players. And remember, the Bruins like to roll 4 lines, play 6D. It's all part of their DNA. And without regulars, they got good contributions from other guys. And that's not to not mention guys like Seidenberg, Soderberg stepped up. Spooner's been a delight the last few games. Yeah. So all these guys really making contributions. But statistically, the core guys have been there.
Yeah, and Chara +5 in that 9-game span. And with some players, plus-minus may not be an accurate measurement of how they're doing, but it's often a bellwether for the captain for Boston because he's on the ice so much. And when he's playing well, the whole team tends to play well in front of him, too.
It's amazing that his plus-minus is where it is, on a regular basis, year in, year out, because he plays against the great players, the great offensive players in the game. And a number of his points at times will come from the power play. You don't get a plus for that.
Soderberg getting green-lighted on Greiva's hit, and Spooner keeps the legs moving, closes to the dot, takes the hit, and fires it off the apron of the goal as he out-muscled Pajot. McQuaid along the line. Bartkowski off the referee's skates. Fraser can't pick it up, and the puck chips back to the half wall. Condra can't clear the zone. Fraser to McQuaid. He has to extend the stick, rips it in on Leonard. Soderberg keeps it alive, centers, comes all the way back through the slot to McQuaid. Slips it over to Bartkowski. Off Soderberg's stick, the puck bounces off the end boards. Mathot gets it to Condra. Now Zibanejad extending, but cannot maintain possession. Ottawa changes out. Bartkowski takes the space, gains the line, chips the puck in deep, and follows against Phillips. Phillips whips it up past Zach Smith. Krug fires cross ice onto Caron's tape. Ceci up to Chris Neal. Campbell bangs Neal, but here comes Zach Smith on the off wing, fires it high glove side, and Rask makes the save.
Tune in for episode 7 of Behind the B, presented by Alex and Ani, on January 7th at 8 or 9 p.m. Missed episode 6? No problem. Stream it online wherever and whenever you want by visiting bostonbruins.com/behindthep or the Bruins mobile app.
Bergeron and Turris on the faceoff. MacArthur and Ryan, the wings. And Bergeron wins another draw. Marchand for Riley Smith. Takes the hit to get it to Marchand. Wheels out of the corner as Carlson goes down. Boychuk on the wrist shot. Tipped by Bergeron just past the post. Marchand to Bergeron. Indirect off the end boards. Riley Smith tied up with Cowan. Couldn't do anything with the puck. Now Cowan. The backhand off the boards. Ryan trickles it ahead for Turris. 2-on-1 against Boychuk with MacArthur. Saved by Rask. The rebound, Chara can't clear it past Carlson. His blast saved by Rask. Comes to the near hash marks. MacArthur swings it back. Cowan hard underneath the forehand of MacArthur. Chara around. Marchand bangs against Carlson. Pulls it out of his skates. Bergeron in there to help. Chara goes over. It comes all the way to the line. MacArthur. Whoa, Marchand trying to sneak it ahead. Riley Smith was behind the D, but a saving knockdown. Here's Turris to McCulloch, and a save by Rask. Lucic finds it at his feet. Iginla can't flatten the tumbling puck. Turris throws it in on Rask, who will calm things down and take a face-off in the Boston end. Tuukka Rask has made some big saves already in this game. 5 minutes to go in the first. It's still 0-0.
Svedberg had a 34-save shutout last night for the Providence Bruins. He got a phone call after that game saying he needed to be available to the Boston Bruins for today's morning skate. Claude Julien said the transaction was a product of a promise the Bruins made Svedberg after such a strong performance in this year's training camp. Julien also added that he didn't need to have a conversation with Bruins backup Chad Johnson about this move because Johnson also knows what a strong training camp Svedberg had, and it's always just a healthy competition between the pipes for the Bruins.
And Jamie, Julien also added that he's not here just to open the door. He's going to play. Rask making a shoulder save and a long wrist shot. Gryba chips it down for Spezza, who's almost a point-per-game player in 50 games in his career against Boston. McCulloch very strong in the puck. Fires it off Rask. Turning to the forehand along the goal line, but the Bruins get possession. Lucic into space for Iginla. Iginla pulls up on the boards, takes the hit from Gryba to get it to Seidenberg. He trickles it into the slot. It bounces all the way to the goal line to Lucic. Now Krejci finding a seam. The thought off the glass and out of play. The face-off will be in the Ottawa zone.
They go back 2 or 3 shifts to the Spooner line. The first sustained offensive zone attack the Bruins had. And they try to follow that up with the Bergeron line. Marchand really pretty good legs here in the first period. Made a good play in the offensive zone. Of course, he hit that post crossbar earlier on the 2-on-1, 3-on-2, 4-on-2, however you want to describe it. Bruins looking to try to get a little bit more sustained attack because they gave up, 9 shots in a row?
You are correct, sir. Spooner deflects Neal's pass out of the Ottawa zone. McQuaid gets a piece of the puck, and that causes the offside, and the faceoff will be back at center ice. So Ottawa, which has allowed more goals than any NHL team, has kept the Bruins at 0, in part because they're out shooting Boston 12-4, and they're spending a heck of a lot more time in front of Tuukka Rask than the Bruins are in front of Robin Lehner.
Yeah, Ottawa's getting the better of it here in the first period. Not by a whole lot, not by a wide margin, but the Bruins look like they've been off for a few days.
As has every NHL team. Matt Frazier lifts the backhand down in behind the goal. Spooner hard against Colin Greening. Zach Smith off McQuaid's stick. And it tumbles back into the Boston end of the ice. Matt Bartkowski reverses to McQuaid. Ottawa changes out. Conra, the front man on the forecheck. Terrific defensive player in college, getting the attention of a lot of people in the NHL with his work. Erik Karlsson D to D. Jared Cowan ahead for Conrad. Bunts it toward the slot. Chara's there and swoops in front of Pajot. Chara with the monster reach off the boards. Cowan knocks the puck down. Pajot with a quick turn flips it down toward Boychuk's corner. Boychuk goes D to D to Chara. Draws Zibanejad. Long indirect pass. Caron carries it ahead and one-hands the puck all the way to the corner. Caron past Karlsson to Paille. Paille shows one way, goes the other. Carlson angles him off, but there's Caron to steal the puck. Caron cycles it for Paille. Paille turns one way then the other. Gets away from Carlson a little bit. Now Boychuk at the point. All the way through. Caron off the apron in front. Campbell sweeps at it but can't control. Cowan knocks it down and Zibanejad muscles it up to the red line. Ottawa wants another change.
Yeah, pretty good effort by the Campbell line, even though they don't get a real good look for a shot on goal. Time in the offensive zone, the cycle game. It all started with Jordan Caron making a nice play in the neutral zone to create the turnover and allow the Bruins puck possession to re-attack. Didn't get everything you wanted for Christmas? In essence, complete retelling of the Red Sox 2013 championship season. Band of Bearded Brothers is still on sale at many fine New England retailers. Due to high demand, retailers have been ordering more and are restocking. You can log on to NESN.com/Red Sox DVD for a list of stores or to order your DVD or Blu-ray online.
Spezza, McCulloch, and Conacher against Bergeron, Riley Smith, and Marchand. Greiber whips it tape to Mathai. Hammers it around into the zone. Rask knocks the puck down for Seidenberg. Cracks it back for Smith. It's off his stick and slides all the way down the ice for icing against the Bruins. Tuukka Rask has been sharp with 12 saves already.
Yeah, just talked about the core guys stepping up their game in the absence of a lot of regular players. First shift of the game. Great opportunity for MacArthur, who's able to get that. That set the tone for the period. Any real good scoring chances like the one Conacher had right there coming in. Try to make a move to the backhand. Turris tries to go low stick side. He gets that with the right pad. He's been sharp again tonight.
Boychuk bangs it hard off the boards, but it's over Marchand's reach, and that goes for icing as well.
Set play off the faceoff. Where Marchand flies the zone when the Bruins win this draw to the right of Rask. Boychuk tries to go high, indirect off the glass, and Marchand's going to take off. He lines up wide in the middle of the defensive zone on the faceoff. Can't leave too early. You got defensive responsibilities, but you're looking for that opportunity to present itself.
Cowan bunts the puck forward. MacArthur slings the backhand to Carlson. The snapshot saved by Rask. Pop-up rebound. Bergeron couldn't control it, trying to glove it along. Marchand blocks. Carlson comes all the way in. Leonard comes out. Marchand gets around him. The goalie's at the boards. Marchand slides it middle, and Cowan saves the day for Ottawa as Robin Leonard was way out at the hash marks along the boards. Bobby Ryan, the backhand, and a save by Rask, and that is an emotionally important save for the Bruins after what just happened at the other end.
Yeah, it's a hard to read backhand from a goal scorer. That save by Rask. Great shot block by Marchand. A slight indecision by Leonard. Finally tries to get out there. Can't get to it first. Unfortunately for Marchand, that puck wouldn't lay flat. It drifted towards the boards. He couldn't pull it, put it in a position to make a better play than just a hope play towards the middle of the offensive end. Opposite end of the ice, the counterattack. Bobby Ryan, gifted goal scorer on the back end, but once again, Rask on that short side square to the rising backhander.
Ryan's got 17 already this season. This is game number 40. So that's about 35 goal pace for a full season. McGinley trickling the puck up to the corner. Krejci in a battle, getting double teamed by Zach Smith and Eric Greiber. Sticks with it, and McGinley has possession to Lucic. Greiber tries to shove him offline. Lucic's pass off Neal's stick. McQuaid takes it.
1 minute remaining.
Bartkowski's shot, stick saved by Leonard. Now in the final minute of the first period, Lucic with a big hit on Colin Greening. Bartkowski bangs Smith. McQuaid takes a stab at the puck, and it bounces around. Ottawa had numbers, but could not get the puck flat as the Bruins kept taking swipes at it.
Yeah, real good recovery by McQuaid because he tried to get it with his body, missed it, both man and puck. But even prone to the ice, he used the stick to disrupt the play.
Zibanejad charges over the spoked B at center. Zach Smith's shot saved by Rask with 27 seconds to go in the first.
They don't turn down shots, do they, these Ottawa centers, the minute they step over that blue line. Here's a look at McQuaid trying to defend. Bartkowski knows he's in trouble because he tries to play the puck with the glove, but he's kind of standing still. Neal's able to keep that play moving forward, but McQuaid with a nice recovery. No give up on that. He was able to get it with the stick.
Krug up the boards. Campbell can't clear the zone. Bangs into Phillips, and that does the job. Rask Krug draws the puck back from Conacher, zips it to Chara. Now Paille stacked up inside the zone. Spezza off Chara's stick. Out to center in the final 5 seconds of the period. Bergeron wiggles it in on Leonard, who will take a face-off with 1.5 seconds to go in the period. The Bruins might as well pull Rask here. Haven't done it yet.
Well, it's been a period of the Bruins just not sharp enough with their puck movement and management. Outshot 15-5 here to this point. Good news is Rask came to play. He's been real sharp. I think outside of Krug and Marchand, I think, Jack, the Bruins can get sharper across the board, man-to-man. Krug's made a number of nice outlet passes.
Stalemate on the drop, and the siren sounds to end the first.
The last minute of play in the first period is brought to you by...
Well, Dale, I guess it was a good holiday because it's still going. Bruins need to step it up a bit.
Just a little bit. Welcome to the Nissan First Intermission Report.
Boston Bruins Hockey on NESN is brought to you by Subaru of New England, by Ace Ticket, by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com, by Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin', by your New England Ford dealers, by McDonald's, I'm loving it, and make the holidays shine even brighter, now during Hyundai Holidays. Alongside Andy Brickley with Jamie Erdahl at ice level and our NESN production crew, I'm Jack Edwards. Ho-hum in the first period, 0-0, so on to the second they go. And Jamie, we're in the countdown to some college hockey at that Lyric Little Bandbox.
Welcome into the Xfinity HD Zone. We are just 8 days away from the 2014 City Frozen Fenway. Another set of Hockey East doubleheaders coming to you live on NESN, and limited tickets are still available. You can purchase them by visiting redsox.com/frozenfenway or by calling 1-877-RED-SOX-9. Now, the ice has already settled at Fenway, and a game was played today. It wasn't college hockey, though. It was between the Boston Media Corps and NESN's own Tom Caron was there to be a fearless leader, a fearless captain for one of the teams. We can only assume he led them to victory. Now, back in 2009, the first Frozen Fenway game was played, and Boston University was featured in that matchup. And the Senators defenseman Eric Gryba was a member of that BU team where they beat BC. And we caught up with him earlier today about what it was like to hit the ice beneath the Green Monster.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, prior to that, I've been to lots of Red Sox games and been on the other side of it. But walking through there in the winter, through Fenway, through the halls, going to the game, and then all the warm-ups in the first 5 minutes, it snowed, and then it stopped. It was you couldn't have planned the weather any better. It was a fantastic experience.
Eric Gryba now on the ice for or at least on the bench for the Ottawa Senators. Jamie in the Xfinity High Def Zone, brought to you by the Xfinity Triple Play, TV, internet, and voice. First period summary being brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. If you're just joining us across the top of the hour, well, frankly, you haven't missed much. First period, Bruins got outshot 15-5. Tuukka Rask was excellent. The rest of the Bruins were sort of figuring out how those skates work. And here they come in the second. Brick, is that one of those intermissions that not much needs to be said? Riley Smith driving one through the webbing of Leonard's glove.
Absolutely. The players are well aware of their shortcomings in that first period. But to a man, I'm sure they're saying, yeah, we can be a lot better, and we are going to be a lot better.
Boychuk in on Leonard. Bergeron looking for Marchand across the crease. Marchand battles all the way back to the red line. Riley Smith, quick re-entry, wing to Bergeron the shot, and a blocker saved by Leonard. He's been busier in the first 40 seconds than he was in the first 20 minutes.
Well, this is the start the Bruins wanted to have. Establish themselves in the offensive zone. Look, Ottawa's going to give up shots. They're going to give up chances. You're going to score some goals, but this is the way you got to apply the pressure.
Krejci to again, let it Krejci looking for Lucic, and it rattles off Cowan's skates. Now Zach Smith charges back in transition for the Senators. Over the line to Bobby Ryan. His blast off the stick of Bartkowski to the far corner. Ryan, a very gifted goal scorer.
And McQuaid did not like that net drive by Zach Smith.
Here's Iginla splitting the D. Leonard out of his crease, and he bats it past Lucic all the way to the Boston zone, and no icing.
Yeah, tough luck for Iginla. Had a chance for a potential breakaway if he could have just corralled that puck.
Neal snaps the puck in deep. McQuaid with Smith on his back. rams into the boards. The puck comes loose. McQuaid's second chance. Bartkowski's right there, leading out Lucic. Pulls it back and around Neal. Now over the line to Krejci. Krejci fakes the shot. The pass goes off Mathot's skates and bounces back up to the blue line. Jason Spezza shielding the puck from McGinley, who reaches around and pries it loose. Spezza gets the shoulder inside on Krejci, but Krug has it. Quickly up for Seidenberg to Paille against Ceci. Paille slings it over the glass, and because he was in the neutral zone, there's no delay of game penalty.
Well, after the Bruins came out with a lot of jump, put some pucks in the direction of the Ottawa goal, counterattack. Ryan, good stick position by Bartkowski, but there's that net drive by Zach Smith trying to get to that blue paint, looking for a second chance opportunity. McQuaid gave him a look, Jack.
That was enough. Zach Smith's a pretty smart guy. Don't poke the bear. Zibanejad whips it past to the corner. Now Soderberg jamming against Ceci. Zibanejad goes in. Spooner comes out of the pile. A couple of quick steps and he's got separation. Spooner hard off the corner boards and he chases. Leonard smacks it off the wall and it comes up to Condra. Finds the seam for Ceci. The defenseman over the line. The wrist shot blocker saved by Rask up to the circle. Zibanejad unable to bat it back toward goal, and Spooner counters on a hurry. Here's Fraser, the rebound off the post. The snap backhand behind Leonard all the way across the goal mouth, off the post and out.
Yeah, what a heads-up play by Spooner to start that rush. Speed through the neutral zone. And the minute he gains entry to the offensive end, what does he do? He gets to the middle of the ice to give yourself more options and a better angle to shoot the puck, and you have to respect that shot. And that little behind the back backhand feed to Fraser. Fraser's initial shot was perfect.
Riley Smith with the steal. He's in alone. Saved by Leonard. Giant save by Robin Leonard. The Bruins have more shots in the first 3:15 of the second period than they had in the entire first.
Again, structure by Boston in the neutral zone. The turnover by Ottawa. The explosive move by Riley Smith. But Leonard, great patience.
Erik Karlsson just past the reach of Smith to Zach Smith to Turris. He fans on the shot with Campbell in his face. Riley Smith on the counter. He's got Marchand on the far wing. Boychuk filling in the middle. Riley Smith around Chris Neal's check. Neal hard on the stick, but Smith keeps going. Gets it through Mark Mathot. Tries to whip it middle. It's off Neal's stick all the way back to center.
You don't have to be a big guy to protect the puck. Riley Smith 3 times using his shoulder and his body position to maintain possession.
Campbell takes a big hit from Neal to get the puck in deep. Caron on the chase. Now it's Paille on the far side, mucking against Colin Greening. McQuaid softly to Bartkowski into the slot. Campbell takes a swipe at it. Almost seemed as if Bartkowski might have mishit that puck, but it had a good effect. Got him a changeup that got through the seam. Caron taking the shoulder from Greiba. Greening around the boards. Campbell takes it away from Mathot. Taps it in deep. Greening can't do anything with it. Caron chasing Greening. Greening muscles it up for Zach Smith. He swivels it to Neal. Neal gets to the red line and Ottawa wants a change. Adam McQuaid. Bartkowski. All the way into the attacking zone. The shot. Glove saved by Leonard. They kept backing off and Bartkowski kept going forward.
Too bad that shot wasn't away from the glove. Let's go back to the opportunity for Matt Fraser. Starts with Spooner. The cut to the middle. Draw people to you. That leaves Fraser open. The initial shot is handled by Leonard. Then follow-up backhand, a one-timer from a difficult angle. Second post tonight for the Bruins. Marchand had one in the first period. The turnover by the Ottawa defense. Riley Smith, we talk about him being in full flight in about 2.5 strides, able to attack right down the middle of the offensive zone, but Leonard got that one as well.
Krejci wins the face-off. Lucic's shot into Cowan's legs, ahead to Conacher. Now Spezza. Spezza. There's Krejci. circling, swiveling away from Cowan. Conacher steals. Spezza sends it forward to McCulloch. McCulloch and Seidenberg down to the corner. McCulloch hits the brakes into Spezza's skates. Here's Cowan, the backhander, tries the rebound, and Rask has to make the clear himself. Lucic loads up for the shoulder right to McCulloch's chest, and that knocks him backward.
Yeah, everybody talks about Carlson jumping into the play. Well, Cowan will do it too. He had the game winner in the game against Boston up in Ottawa.
Has not scored since then. But he knew when to do it that night, didn't he? Seidenberg gets knocked down by Condra's shoulder. He whips it across the slot. Iginla trickles the puck to the attacking line. Cody Ceci past Carlson to Condra. Condra wiggles it, tumbling the puck down to Seidenberg's corner. Puck bounces off the dasher. Turris shoves it over to Zibanejad. Zibanejad on the backhand to Ceci, backing to the line. The wrist shot. Seidenberg with the skate block. Fraser to Spooner, flying over the spoke B. Down to one knee. The shot. Glove stopped by Leonard. He'll take the face off at his own end. Ryan Spooner's speed is changing the equation every time he's on the ice.
Bruins Face Off Live, we introduced NESN Mobile Bruins poll. We ask, if you're starting a team, which would be most important? Reply A for character, B for coaching, C for goaltending, or D for skill. Text your answer vote to 536-536. Message and data rates may apply. Text help for info and visit NESN.com/terms for terms and conditions and privacy policy. And Jack, we may know where GM Peter Chiarelli may have voted on this, as he has always said that hiring Claude Julien is one of the best decisions he has made for the Bruins.
Yeah, but before he even did that, he found a way to get that 6'9" defenseman to come from Ottawa, where he had been working as assistant GM, to Boston.
Yeah, and that covers both skill and character.
Yeah. And makes your coach and goaltender look good.
Well, it makes you think, though, you deal a guy like Sagan, Jack.
Yeah.
And basically the reason was he wasn't of the character that the Bruins wanted in their organization, even though you're giving up immense skill.
Well, what does it say about the depth and confidence of the Boston Bruins that they are able to make a trade based on those attributes? Because there are a lot of teams that would just continue to make excuses and kick the can down the road, knowing that perhaps they were dealing with a situation that someday would become untenable. Bartkowski takes a huge hit from Neal, who loves doing that when a defenseman's behind the goal. Indirect off the end boards. Neal pries it loose, Greening the wraparound, and Rask is there to shut the door. Greening on the half boards, fires it right across the crease. This is what Chris Neal does. He gets his team fired up. He creates energy shifts and opportunities that aren't necessarily pretty, but they might just change the game.
And his goal is, if he's going to go to the box, to make sure he takes someone with him. You don't want to put your team short-handed, unless it's a real meaningful penalty where you have to serve it by yourself. But you saw McQuaid. He got a little preoccupied with him after the big hit by Bartkowski, and that allowed Ottawa to maintain pressure.
Seidenberg, the slap pass. Phillips deflects it, and Caron can't field it. Paille tries to snap it through Spezza, and this year's captain, succeeding Daniel Alfredson, brings it up ice. Zach Smith for Spezza. Krug tips it past the near side post.
The Bruins making a line change, Jack, up front, and that allowed space and numbers for Ottawa through the neutral zone, and Spezza took advantage of it. Bruins try to make a play. It was Paille below the goal line. He tries to make a play to the high slot. You can see left side of your screen. All three forwards making a line change. The other forwards can't get on the ice in time to stop this rush. And even though the Bruins do a nice job on defending, it's still an opportunity. There's the big hit by Neal. Real good, solid, clean body contact. McQuaid comes over. Now you got two defensemen behind the goal line paying attention to Chris Neal.
Now Neal's one of those guys who can play, as Sean Thornton has said. Thornton, incidentally, serving the 9th game of his suspension. Still no word as to whether or not he's going to take it to arbitration. Zibanejad almost sneaks it in that tiny gap between Rask and the post.
Catch tomorrow's all-new Big Bad Bruins Live, presented by DCU, Digital Federal Credit Union. They'll shine the Big Bad spotlight on the Bruins' young defensemen, look back at some of the top moments in this week in Bruins history, and reveal the DCU Hero of the Week. Check it all out tomorrow night at 6.
Spezza, McCulloch, Conacher up front. Carlson, who's point pace is approximately what it was in his Norris Trophy winning season. And Cowan out at the blue line.
You voted for him, right?
I did not. I know that comes as a surprise, but I am able to understand the first two syllables of the position. Bartkowski banks the pass intended for Lucic. Bartkowski picks it up. For those of you keeping track at home, Carlson ranks 6th among Ottawa defensemen in average shorthanded time on ice per game. 6th. Lucic into the slot. Spezza takes it away and races up ice. Ottawa wants a change, not to belabor the point, but just to finish it up here. The Norris Trophy goes to the best overall defensive player in the National Hockey League. Here's Chris Neil back into the Boston zone. Zach Smith, wrong foot shot, and it handcuffs Rask. Krejci wiggles away from danger. Remember, it was Chris Neil who changed that game in Ottawa. Things were going swimmingly for the Bruins, and a late in the period ill-fated pass from Torrey Krug got picked off, and the whole game swiveled on that one moment. Mark Mathot, as Ottawa has taken its breath and weathered an early second period storm from the Bruins. And again, short shifts for the Sens on the road. Johnny Boychuk with a hop in his step, fires it all the way around. Fraser waiting on the far side, reverses it for Carl Soderberg. Soderberg turns it back of the goal. Good hit from Phillips. Boychuk unleashes a wicked one-timer that deflects off the end glass. Chara to Fraser. The quick turn looking for Spooner against Phillips. Fraser and Spooner out of the corner. Here's Spooner to Soderberg. The quick release and a save by Leonard deep on his line.
Yeah, he stayed deep. He wasn't sure where that puck was going to go, and then all of a sudden the quick release by Soderberg on a nice pass by Fraser. It is a good thing he was deep. If he's at the top of the crease, Jack, maybe that sneaks through his legs before he can react.
Lundqvist-like. I wonder where he picked that up. Bergeron to Seidenberg. It bounces around, and finally the puck cooperates. Marchand shoving it ahead. Now here's Condron, the quick counter, but it's offside. Zibanejad ahead of the play. 9:35 to go, second period. Now it gets a little bit nasty.
Well, the Bruins are going to call it a high sticking penalty, but I thought it was after the offside already occurred, but I guess it's still in play.
Yeah, and Pajot was down, holding his face, not happy about it. It looks as if Boston's going to be shorthanded once again.
Time now for the Berkshire Bank exciting rewind. Rewind it back to the first period. The Bruins ranked 3rd in the National Hockey League in penalty killing success. And it's about structure, it's about decision making, it's about commitment. Look at the Bruins structure in the neutral zone. Both forwards do a double swing, and then they come to the wide side. Paille on one wing, Campbell on the other. That allows the Bruins defense of Chara and McQuaid to stand up. That forces the dump in, but you have the advantage. The speed of Paille on the outside is going to get to this puck first. He thinks he can rip it up the wall. It's a good read by Phillips to keep it in, but now Paille hustles to get where? In the shooting lane. Force that puck to be moved wide. Where's Chara? In the shooting lane. Body position, stick position. Not only does Chara make the block, as McQuaid and Campbell rotate back to that slot area to protect the weakness in the offensive defensive zone, allows the Bruins to be quality penalty killers.
Every month, Berkshire Bank is giving away a Kindle Fire HD. Plus, at the end of the season, Berkshire Bank will assist one lucky winner with their mortgage for a year. All you need to do is vote for your favorite exciting rewind. Go to NESN.com/Berkshire Bank to enter. Berkshire Bank. Life is exciting. Let them help. So it's going to be 4-on-4 as both Riley Smith and Jean-Gabriel Pajot are in the box.
You got to assume that Pajot got his on the little scrum after the high sticking penalty. That plays offside. And Riley Smith's getting back. We saw Marchand get a similar penalty on an offensive type situation. This is a defensive type situation. And even though it's on the, I should say after the whistle, they still get Smith for the high stick, but Pajot for, I believe, a rough.
It is roughing, yes. 4-on-4, the Bruins have a goal differential of +4, which is tied with Edmonton and Montreal for the best in the NHL. Ottawa is mid-pack, having scored as many as they have allowed. Spooner tosses the backhand to Bartkowski. Bartkowski a little pitch, and then he goes all the way past the goal line, swings it into the crease. Carlson takes it.
Bartkowski's not in that deep a lot in the offensive zone, but he had a little room.
Carlson flying in open ice. The puck hops over Zach Smith's stick, and he falls along the boards. It's underneath. Now it's Bartkowski prying it loose to McQuaid.
Yeah, just to finish that thought on Bartkowski, had a chance maybe to come more to the front of the net or a harder wraparound attempt.
Spooner cuts into the zone. The shot saved by Leonard Chara all the way past the dot. Chara with the huge reach comes out on the backhand side, turns it to the forehand against Methot. Chara with a great skating exhibition. Chara one-handing it up the boards. Methot gets it up to the blue line. Chara punches it back in. Carlson and Marchand. Marchand gets a piece of Carlson, sending him for a spin. Marchand in the slot, shielding. Boychuk has to turn the stick, walks into it, the bomb, and a save by Leonard, and that one stung. Leonard is doubled over. Johnny Boychuk can unleash a rocket of a shot.
Pretty good puck possession by Boston in this 4-on-4. Chara had it for quite a while in the offensive zone. Bruins were trying to change out some plays. He really didn't have any options. And then Ottawa thinks they're going to walk out of the zone. Pressure by Bergeron. Marchand picks up that turnover. Boychuk's inside the offensive blue line. They give him time and space, so he takes it. And this is a bomb. Top of the circle, even from a bad angle. Tops of the circle. He's not looking for a redirect. He's just trying to flat out beat Leonard on that high blocker side. Leonard takes it right in the shoulder.
The legendary story. Johnny Boychuk's older siblings got out of school before he did. Different school in Edmonton. Far, far in the north. They would lock him out of the house, leave his stick and a puck in the driveway and say, take your 100 shots. Look where it got him.
I got a feeling it was closer to about 300 shots.
Probably was. He has been clocked in excess of 100 miles an hour, up around 103. Spezza snaps the puck off the boards. Rask wrists it off the glass. It bounces down off Marchand's legs. Bergeron pokes it to center against Spezza. Bergeron wing to wing to Torrey Krug. Krug with Bergeron going to the middle. The puck comes between Bergeron's stick and the apron, but Marchand steals from Spezza. Settles it for Bergeron. The snapshot off Methot's stick, and it goes up and over as both Pajot and Smith exit the box. It's back to 5-on-5.
It's just a small example, but Patrice Bergeron, Selke Award winner, here's one of the reasons why. You know, a lot of players might try that tip and go and think offense the entire way. But he's trying to get to that puck, but not vacate the defensive zone too early. So he's kind of putting the brakes on because he knows it's a 4-on-4 situation, or certainly man-on-man coverage in the defensive zone at that point. So he's making the right play first on the defensive side of the puck and not thinking, I can chip this puck into the neutral zone and create something offensively. Do your job first, and as it turns out, he won the puck battle along the wall anyway.
Now it's CC poking the puck along the end wall, getting it past Krejci to Zach Smith. He hoists it over everybody. McQuaid tries to stand his ground with Neal in his face. Bartkowski hammers it off glass. It handcuffs Lucic, tumbles loose to CC, who pokes it ahead to Neal. Over the Boston line, Bartkowski shoves the backhand to McQuaid. McQuaid takes the space, goes hard around in his zone. Lucic on the left wing, waiting for it. Rattles it off Neal's legs. Krejci snaps the pass to Bartkowski along the line to McQuaid. He draws Greening all the way out to the blue line. Bartkowski steps in. Iginla turns and fires, and a blocker saved by Leonard. Iginla steals the outlet pass, taps to Lucic. Lucic back to Chara. He loads up. The drive gets tipped out of the slot all the way to the end boards. Bartkowski bangs against Neal. Iginla shoves it waist high to Krejci, who handles it, finds Iginla. It's off his skate. Paille whips it right back through the slot, and it comes back to center.
Good idea by Paille. He knew he had to do it quick, and it had to be hard. It was just too hard.
Paille to Chara. He walks in. Chara over to Caron, and a save by Leonard. As good as Tuukka Rask was in the first, that's how good Leonard has had to be in the second.
Second real good play by Chara. His first one, he had a chance at the right point after taking a pass from Lucic. He had Iginla in his sights the whole way. It just got deflected. And now he's going to step up into the offensive blue line, get inside position on Neal. Neal's late. That's his guy. He needs to be on top of Chara. Chara able to take full advantage, and Caron comes off the Bruin bench. Bruins completing the line change. He's wide open, but it's a good read and react by Leonard. Good push right to left to be in position.
Jordan Caron, Hungary, has not scored in 17 consecutive games. John Gabriel Pajot to Mika Zibanejad. The drive goes off Paille's stick off the end glass. Condra pries it loose. Krug past Seidenberg's reach. Zibanejad quickly on the puck, turns it to the corner and hits the referee. Condra tries to mash it into the middle. Loose along the goal line, and Rask covers for the faceoff. With 5:46 to go in the second period, Bruins and Senators in a stare down now. Shots are 2019 Ottawa, but it's still 0-0. The Force trivia question: which active Bruins player was born in Ottawa? Visit NESN.com/TheForce for the answer and enter to win a $50 gift certificate that can be used at the Force Restaurant and Sports Bar in Boston, Quincy, or Norwell. You would have known if you were at the morning skate, because the mob scene around his dressing stall from the visiting media was something else.
What a great town, too.
Tremendous.
I visited up there. We were able to stay downtown, and pretty fun.
Unbelievable. If only they had built the arena downtown. But, you know, I do complain a lot. Turris at the hash marks. Boychuk with a good read, anticipating the pass that was headed toward Clark MacArthur. Marchand back to Boychuk, draws MacArthur off the end boards. Chara corrals it on the backhand, up into the skates of Riley Smith, but he fights through traffic. Marchand can't get it away from Cowan, but here's Riley Smith in support. Boychuk's bomb, and a save by Leonard. Loose in front, and Smith can't get it past Cowan. Bergeron to Marchand to Bergeron in traffic. Cowan got the stick up and underneath the visor of Riley Smith. And we're going to have a Boston power play. First, a Toyota game break with Dale Arnold.
Thank you, Jack. Brought to you by Toyota. Pittsburgh and Carolina. Early second, game tied at 1. Alexander Semin to Nathan Gervey. Puts it in for his 8th of the year. Carolina takes a 2-1 lead. Jack?
Dale, thank you. Riley Smith getting the worst of it here.
A real good effort again by this line. Marchand started it. Bergeron able to throw that puck into an area. If you have no play, throw it in an area where you maintain possession. Now Smith's going to get there first, but Cowan gets the stick up and catches him, and the Bruins red-hot power play on the ice right now.
Senators' 4-on-5 goal differential is -29 this season. It is the worst in the NHL.
Ottawa penalty number 2, Jared Cowan, 2 minutes high sticking.
Pajot gets it forward to Condra. The Bruins power play brought to you by McDonald's. Condra's shot, and Rask has to make a tough save. Condra getting a lot on that snapshot.
Once again, Rask makes somewhat difficult shots look pretty easy. Lucic couldn't corral the puck deep in the offensive zone. That leads to this short-handed opportunity. The quick release, Condra. Once again, Rask square to the shot, controls the rebound.
That's what Condra gets paid to do. Almost 2.5 minutes of shorthanded time on ice per game. The leader among Ottawa's forwards. Krug has Krejci to the right. Gets away from Greening. Off from McCulloch's legs, and Krug is there to rescue the puck. Krug has space open up for him in the center circle. He drives it opposite corner. Chara lets the puck tumble toward Lucic. Back to Chara in the corner. He sweeps it around. Krug with McCulloch closing. Taps it off Mathat's stick down in low. Chara getting upended as he got tied up going toward the boards, along with Eric Greiba.
Well, you've had a pretty good period if you're Boston. You don't want your power play to take any momentum away from what you've established here in period number 2.
3 for 3 in the last game before the break at Nashville. Chara pulls the puck off the board, slides it back to Iginla with a little bit of space. Chara on the weak side at the dot. Now Krejci comes through, gives it back low for Iginla. Iginla against Greiba. Krejci tosses it to Krug. The drive, here's Iginla, he scores! Phillips made the block, and it literally took him off his feet. Jarome Iginla stays hot. The Bruins power play is on fire.
Real good work along the wall. Nice little exchange between Iginla and Krejci. And again, Krejci, everything with a purpose. Sort things out, calm things down. Don't let that heart rate get too high. He just changes that position of the puck as if he was going to make a play down into the offensive zone. That opens up this little lane. What a great one time, and 2 by Krug. Even though this puck gets blocked by Phillips, who's in coverage with Lucic. Again, the double barrel action, Jack, down the slot, Lucic and Iginla. And that quick release by Iginla before Leonard can get set. I mean, there's a lot of reason that guy scored over 500 goals in the National Hockey League, but that's one of them, that quick release before the goaltender can get set.
3.5 to go in the second period. The Bruins have finally broken the ice. Johnny Boychuk with Corey Conacher chasing. Zibanejad nudges the puck to Boychuk's corner and follows. Boychuk spins away from the hit. The puck loose. Soderberg gets it up to the blue line. Spooner with the stick on Spezza, so he couldn't take possession back. Carlson. Spooner sweeps it away. Carlson gets the puck back, pirouettes and gets it to Spezza. Spezza waits for some traffic, and Rask makes a blocker stop. Fraser tied up by Conacher. There's Spooner in close support. Spooner shoves it ahead, takes the space, 3-on-2 with Fraser and Soderberg. Spooner shot, save Leonard, the rebound bounces to Spezza. Jason Spezza indirect Neal's way over the line, offside. 2.5 to go in the second. Jarome Iginla still going strong in his 17th season.
What is it, 6 straight now that the Bruins coming into tonight have had a guy score a pair of goals? In each of the last 6 games. Well, Iginla on the board again tonight. Maybe he'll get a second goal. But that quick release, the positioning, get from the wall to where the goals are scored, and that's in front of the net. Got there with timing, opportunity, but it was that quick release right through the legs was the reason he was able to bury that puck on the power play.
The Bruins had a 7-game stretch having a player score at least. Well, here's a chance. Zach Smith looking for Neal, but McQuaid's back to fill the gap. The Bruins had a 7-game streak in which a player scored at least 2 goals for them back in 1929. That's the team record they're seeking to tie tonight.
Assisted by Torrey Krug.
Bartkowski gets underneath Neal, knows he's going to pay the price for it, and takes that hit to move the puck to Campbell. McQuaid can't connect with Paille. The Bruins can't clear the zone. McQuaid blocks the backhand pass from McCarthy. Daniel Paille charges over the line with Caron going toward net. The shot and a glove stopped by Leonard with 1:48 to go in the second.
NESN wants you to enter for your chance to win the Arena Cross ticket giveaway. 10 winners will each receive a family 4-pack of Gold Circle tickets to the Arena Cross event at the DCU Center in Worcester next Friday. Visit NESN.com/ArenaCross to enter.
Iginla's 11th of the season from Torrey Krug, his 12th assist, and David Krejci gets his team-leading 26th assist on the season. Marchand whipping the puck across the goal mouth. Now it's Riley Smith. Down through the corner, Marchand off the apron of the goal. It bounces away from Bergeron. Smith rattles it off a couple of pair of skates. First Carlson, and then the tip down low from Bergeron. As Smith again finds a little bit of space out high. Bergeron with Marchand in front. Back to Boychuk. He walks into one. Now back to Chara. At the dot, Marchand and Chara. Chara's snapshot as the puck wasn't where he wanted it for the slap shot, and he didn't want to miss wild. Marchand. Smith in front. The quick chip, and Leonard gets a piece of that. Marchand trying to get away from Bobby Ryan in the final minute of the second period. Bruins want to finish strongly here. They have earned their 1-0 lead.
Well, this line was real good to start the period. They're finishing it strong as well, taking away the middle of the ice and turning pucks over.
But here's Carlson gaining the Boston line. Turris whips the puck across the slot. MacArthur jamming against Boychuk, who maintains his balance. Gets the puck to Chara. Out the near side for Smith. Smith wing to wing through Lucic. Krejci charging toward Greiva's corner. Greiva off the end boards for Cowan. Headmans the puck to McCulloch. McCulloch working against Seidenberg. Iginla on the diagonal so Seidenberg can take the puck. But McCulloch strong on it. Tumbles down. Here's Iginla. Backhand, forehand around Greiva. Krejci waits for traffic. Saucers it middle. Spezza picks it off in the final 10 seconds. Spezza from 85 feet. Rask makes the save, and the Bruins will go to the room up 1-0 after 40 minutes.
Love that clock awareness by Tuukka Rask. The long shot by Spezza. He knows how much time there is. He quickly got that puck off his chest protector to keep in play to run the clock up. Strong period by Boston.
And Bruins Hockey on Nesson is brought to you by the all-new Sierra, designed and engineered by GMC. Incredible thinking in the form of a truck. By Amica Insurance. By Infinity. By the Massachusetts Health Connector. By your local New England Audi dealers. By TD Bank, America's most convenient bank. And by your local Mazda dealers. Alongside Andy Brickley with Jamie Erdahl at ice level and our Nesson production crew, I'm Jack Edwards. It's 1-0 Bruins heading into the third period. Let's fly to the bench now for an interview with Andy Brickley and Bruins assistant coach Doug Jarvis. Brought to you by Cape Air, your wings to 44 cities in the U.S., the Caribbean, and Micronesia. Book your tickets at capeair.com now.
Doug, I guess the obvious first question is, in your eyes, what was so good about period 2 relative to period 1 for your club?
Well, we talked about period 1, how we weren't happy with our play in period 1, and certainly our play in the offensive zone. We didn't feel we won enough of those battles along the boards. We thought we were giving the puck up too easy, and I thought in the second period we came out with a determination in the offensive zone. We managed the puck well. We hung on to it, we found the open players, and we spent time there and created scoring chances.
Understanding that there's an ebb and flow to your power play and your power play success rate, but why is your power play so good right now?
Well, I think the guys are moving it with confidence, and I think they're finding their shots. And just like tonight, a shot from the point, a puck that lays there on a rebound hits a defenseman, and we have a player in position to put it in. So I think when you move it with confidence and you shoot when you have the opportunity to shoot and have players around the net, good things will happen.
Well, an important divisional game. Good luck in the third period.
Thanks, Andy.
So, Brick, is this a good mental test for the Bruins? Because after a lackluster first period, very sharp in the second, but here they are again in another one of these close games, facing a goaltender who's playing pretty well.
And I think I hope they have, the Bruins that is, have good memories, because they were in a similar situation in Ottawa, a divisional game, a divisional opponent. We talked about it at the top of the broadcast, and the players are aware. They're 8-3-3, the Ottawa Senators, in divisional play. This is not an easy game. It's a one-goal game. The difference is a power play, but the way they played in period 2 is the same approach they have to be in period 3, but even better and even sharper.
As Doug Jarvis was telling you, the determination of the Bruins paying off, and the attack zone time really told the story of that. In the first period, it was about 3/4 of a minute in Ottawa's direction, the differential in time between the two. But in the second period, the Bruins had the puck 2 minutes and 40 seconds more in the attacking zone than Ottawa had it in Boston's zone.
Yeah, and that goes to exactly what Doug Jarvis was talking about, and that was finding the open man in the offensive end. And the Bruins did much more of that in period number 2, and that's why those numbers are the way they were in the middle stanza. But here we are, a challenge. Remember, Ottawa's playing some pretty good hockey right now, and they have the ability to stay in games. They're getting the goaltending tonight. They're dangerous, so the Bruins have to pay attention to detail.
Game summary brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. Ottawa was a team that charged into the playoffs last season and won a round. But incredibly, the Senators, halfway through their season almost, have won 2 games in a row, only twice. One of those streaks turned into a 3-game winning streak. Here's Lucic taking the long diagonal for Krejci. A save by Lehner. Krejci was getting hooked, but not enough to draw a penalty. Krejci to McQuaid, the one-timer. Bounces wide. Bartkowski toward the front. Krejci scores! Lucic locking down in front of the goal, enabling the puck to come off the end boards, and Krejci hammers it in. The Bruins are up 2, 38 seconds into the third.
It all starts with a great breakout pass. This time it's McQuaid from deep in his own zone, just north of the goal line. Diagonal across the ice, wing to wing, to Milan Lucic in stride. That allows Krejci with a great speed, explosive move through center ice. And I don't know if this has anything to do with the shallower nets. Hard to tell from the angle if that puck wouldn't have got there with the old nets too. but the Bruins using both defense to get up into the offensive zone. They talk about gaps all the time, and gaps generally refer to defending and where you are in the neutral zone and how well you hold your defensive blue line. But part of gaps is staying up in the offensive zone at the right times and being active and being involved. And both Bartkowski and McQuaid do just that with the Krejci line, and Krejci's able to sneak one short side on a rebound off the back wall.
Eric Gryba, the defenseman, is listed at 222 pounds, but Milan Lucic just locked down on him, and he was absolutely unable to get to that puck. Krug's blast sails off the end glass. Spooner whips it right through the low slot. Here's Krug charging down the half boards. Tosses it in deep. Spooner with a good stick to beat Erik Karlsson in a puck battle. McCulloch to Spencer. Wing to wing, and Karlsson will regroup as Ottawa changes out. Karlsson deliberately short of the red line. Now here's Mika Zibanejad on the backhand. He flips it right over the crossbar. Pajot punts it into Chara's corner. It hops over Chara's stick, trying to get away from Conrad. Bergeron there in close support up to Marchand. Makes a nifty catch of the puck on the inside of the right blade, and then gets it to Riley Smith. He gets stood up on Phillips's check. Ceci up the wall. Condra pivots, gives it away inside the blue line. Brad Marchand inadvertently pulls it back to center and then draws it into the zone offside.
Tonight, following Bruins coverage, stay with NESN and join Jameson and Gary for NESN Sports Today, presented by People's United Bank. They'll have more on the Senators and Bruins, so look at the impact of the Bruins' young defenseman. And Matt Chatham will stop by to preview the Bills and Patriots. Get all you need to know tonight after post-game coverage. We'll be flying to Ottawa, Jack.
Yes, we will. Back-to-back, home and home. It's too bad the Bruins only played 2 home-and-home series in the entire season. Chara blasts one, knocked down in front. Riley Smith dives in his effort to get to the rebound first. Marchand to Bergeron, shoves it into Turris' skates. Bergeron stays with it. Smith comes back to track the puck. Wrists it around through both corners. Marchand waiting on it. Bergeron wheels it right on Leonard. Karlsson up to the half boards. Turris takes the puck.
Loose stick by Leonard on that one.
Chara can't clear the zone. Cowan gets headed off by Riley Smith in the defensive zone. Bergeron taps the backhand from Marchand. He gets it out to center ice. And Gryba hacks it into an aisle, and a fan goes diving on the cement for a $1.25 souvenir. Priceless.
A Bergeronian effort.
And Riley Smith extending at both ends of the ice as well.
Yeah, good shift again by that Bergeron line. I mean, you don't have time to show about a minute-length replay, but it started again deep in the Bruins' own zone. Shara's in a one-on-one battle. Who's close for support? Bergeron. Who wins the battle along the wall and makes a play? Marchand. And now you get something going in the offensive zone because of those defensive plays.
Campbell extends the stick to make the steal in the attacking zone. Bears up under Gryba's pressure. Paille tries to turn to the backhand, finds Caron. He taps back to McQuaid. Slides it along the line to Bartkowski, the wrist shot. Gryba with the deflection up into the protective netting, and the face-off in the Senators' zone.
Exactly what Doug Jarvis was talking about. Bruins win puck battles along the wall in the offensive zone, and then they find the open man in the high slot. Good work by Campbell, Paille, as well as Caron. That's your 4th unit, spending more time in the offensive end.
Determination, hanging on to it, finding the open player, as Jarvis told you just a few minutes ago. Krejci, Iginla, Lucic, Seidenberg, and Krug. Spezza wins the drop. Ceci off the glass looking for McCulloch, and Seidenberg keeps the puck in front of him.
Yeah, with his skates. Backing up, tracking the puck, gapping up, and kicking the puck forward for possession. Pretty good.
Yeah. Krug tosses the puck to the corner. Phillips back, plays the body against Iginla. Conacher indirect for Spezza. Spezza up the wall. McCulloch bounces it middle of the Boston zone. Seidenberg with the angle, and now the speed into the attacking zone. Seidenberg all the way to the corner. It's off Ceci's stick. Krejci on the half boards. Goes back down the wall. Lucic cycles high. The blast by Boychuk. That might have broken glass. Here comes Chara with a bomb and a glove save by Leonard. My goodness gracious, that's about 210 miles an hour with the slap shots on 2 of them if you add them up.
I think Iginla got a piece of the Boychuk drive. We're going to look at it. Nice little one-time pass.
Yes.
One-time pass by Lucic to Boychuk, and now Chara's coming out late on the line change. He walks into a one-timer, but Leonard got that one with his glove. That's about, what, 200, I don't know, 20 miles per hour combined?
Yeah, it's a lot. Rask waits for the puck to come past the goal line. Boychuk looks off Condra, but the pass doesn't connect with Fraser. Cowan's drive leg save, the rebound, and Boychuk clamps down on Peugeot, who had an open side. Spooner quickly through the neutral zone, but turns it over at the blue line. Condra closing on Chara's side of the ice, and Chara angles him off and sticks the puck to the end boards. Boychuk just got clipped right across the schnoz, and no referee saw it. They did.
Yep.
Down, all the way down the ice. The referee leading the play saw it.
No, pretty good stop by Rask on that drive from the point. He had to deal with a lot of traffic, but Johnny Boychuk trying to get the job done defensively. You got to track those rebounds. Expect your goaltender to make the initial stop, and then you protect second chance opportunities. And then the battle in the corner. Peugeot goes in with body contact. Ends up a little bit off balance with the body contact, and his stick rides up and catches Boychuk. And again, the Bruin power play already with a power play goal tonight, 1-for-1, and then the Iginla goal. They didn't really do much for about a minute 10 with that power play, Jack. We talked about not losing momentum in the hockey game. But with 30 seconds to go in the power play, Iginla gets on that second chance opportunity on the one-timer by Krug at that block. And here's the power play unit again.
And Bergeron wins the face-off. Krug's drive deflects off Condra to the end boards.
Ottawa penalty number 44.
Mathot draws Riley Smith off the boards and out.
Yeah, I was curious before the game, with Bartkowski back in the lineup, who was going to be the defenseman on this power play unit with the Bergeron combination, with Riley Smith playing 1 point and Spooner and Soderberg working the overload. Well, they're going to go with Krug. Krug's always with the other unit, but maybe he plays the full 2 if they need it.
Bergeron is the only player on the ice who spent most of last season with the parent team for the Bruins. Spooner going 10-2, goes right around Greiba in front. That was classic Ryan Spooner. We've seen it since his rookie year. Ryan Spooner turns one skate open to the other, and you can just see the panic in defensemen because they have no idea where he's going next, and he's doing it with speed.
Well, that's it. He doesn't lose any speed when he opens up. That's the impressive part.
Krejci races over the spoke B, gains the line. It's in Chara's skates. Krejci picks it up, slings it off the corner glass. Lucic with a full head of steam, taps back to Krug. One touch to Krejci in the slot for Iginla. He deflected it wide. Chara unopposed, back of the goal. Phillips taps it away from the big man. Carlson sprays it the length of the rink. Still 25 seconds to go on the power play. Krejci has Lucic going up the left wing. Iginla on the diagonal. The bouncing pass. Greiba clears it back to center. 15 seconds left on the man advantage. Krejci hard around into the zone. Greiba and Lucic. Lucic taps back to Chara. In deep off the end boards for Iginla. Iginla spins on the bot. Goes back the other way. Can't get it past Greening. And then steals from Greening. Iginla in front for Lucic, and a save by Leonard aggressively off his line. Lucic with a doorstep chance, and Robin Leonard with an excellent read. Bruins are going to be shorthanded here as Lucic and Greening got their sticks stuck with one another, and they're going to call for a cross-check apparently. 13:01 to go. A must-score power play coming up for the Ottawa Senators.
First half of a home-and-home series, Bruins and Senators. We're back after the game to break it down on Ace Ticket. Bruins Overtime Live.
Nail-biter here in the third period. Bruins got to hold off these pesky Sens.
Yeah, we'll see if the Bruins can stay red hot at home.
Ace Ticket, Bruins Overtime Live after the game.
Well, Milan Lucic had an opportunity right at the top of the crease after a nice play by Jerome Iginla. But in his pursuit to get to the puck, Greening gets pretty good body position, and the strength of Milan Lucic on that short little cross check knocks Greening forward. That gets him a cross-checking penalty in Ottawa. Looking to get something going offensively with the man advantage.
Zibanejad and Carlson out at the blue line. And there is Carlson snapping it toward goal, and it sails over the blocker side of Tuukka Rask. Zibanejad has trouble from Bergeron. Bergeron swats it to Marchand. Marchand draws it wide against Carlson. Hits the Jets. Carlson makes up for that with his own speed, and here he comes. Erik Karlsson flying through the neutral zone. Chara pokes it away, but it comes right to Spezza. Slings the pass for Zibanejad. He couldn't control it with his skate. Marchand makes a nice pivot at the Boston line. Finds Bergeron ahead. He delays, now hits the speed, backhands it on Leonard, and gets plastered to the end boards on Greening's check.
Nice play by Bergeron, even though it's late in the penalty kill for what you have to do killing a penalty. But he saw it was Mahalik trying to play defense. He just took him wide.
Campbell getting in Chris Neal's way. Neal back to Karlsson. Over to Spezza at the top of the circle. Spezza pirouettes, takes it down low, banks it to Karlsson. Karlsson snaps it into Campbell's legs, tries again. Chara wins the race to the puck and slings it into the Boston bench. The face-off to the left of Tuukka Rask with 52 seconds to go in Lucic's penalty.
Gregory Campbell a little shaken up after some real good work killing this penalty. Again, it's about sacrifice, commitment, and the willingness to do the dirty stuff in order to get the penalty kill done. Doing a good job, and unfortunately for Chara, he got to that loose puck after the good work by Campbell. Just didn't get the right angle to send that puck the length of the ice.
A little bit of creative work by Tony Ceracolo, the linesman. Had a busted knee pad, so he just strapped it on the outside. Johnny Boychuk bouncing the puck down into the corner. Seidenberg slams Neal, who comes away with the glove to the face. Ceci. Now Phillips switches. He has Zach Smith to his right. Wrists it hard around. Rask slows it down for Caron. Takes the bump from Neal. Neal continuing to jam. Seidenberg unable to control the puck. Smith taps it back. Ceci loads up the drive off Caron's skate, and it goes off glass and then into the netting with 13 seconds to go on the power play.
Real nice play by Danny Paille, back in the lineup tonight for the Bruins. Once this puck gets won along the boards by the Senators, they thought they had a play to the top of the crease. And Paille was the weak side forward on the penalty kill. He doesn't just drift. He's trying to take away that possible pass to the point. Now he recognizes, whoa, there's a play to be made right at the top of the crease. I got to take that away. And just that little move to get in the passing lane forces the pass back to the right point. And now his tandem work allow the Bruins to get a much-needed deflection in that situation.
Turris and Krejci wins the face-off. McQuaid hustles to the puck and wrists it all the way around and out.
You know you're going to get hit because you put yourself in a position to be hit. And McQuaid took the body, or I should say Ryan took the body on McQuaid, but pay the price to clear your end.
0 shots on goal during the power play. The Bruins' excellent stretch of penalty killing continues. Seidenberg kicking up forward to the stick. Iginla gets it out to center. Krejci draws it into a seam, sends Iginla ahead. Iginla against Karlsson. Holds it in the corner. Krejci along the wall. Turris breaks that up and sends the puck to MacArthur. But his blind pass offline, and Iginla clamps down on Karlsson. Bobby Ryan, Cowan, Karlsson. Almost midway through the third period. The Bruins getting an insurance goal from David Krejci just 38 seconds into the third. McQuaid whacks it to Krejci in the defensive zone. Now it's Chara drawing Zibanejad off the boards, and it bounces all the way to Greiva. Marking the 5. Now Mika Zibanejad, but the play's offside as Fraser holds his position, keeping Pajot inside the line.
Tomorrow night at 6:30, get ready for the drop of the puck with Dale, Billy, and Barry when WB Mason presents Bruins Face Off Live. He'll preview the back half of the home and home of the Ottawa Senators, welcome a local youth hockey team to the studio, and have their locks of the week. Get ready for the game here on NESN tomorrow at 6:30.
Interesting, Matt Fraser said to Jamie in the pregame interview, you know, the first few games I was just trying to keep a goal from being scored while I was out there. Now I feel like I'm playing.
You don't want to be a weak link.
Yeah, don't be that guy, right? Eric Condren, Mika Zibanejad in on Rask. He scoops it off the ice with the glove. 9:48 to go in the game. The Bruins trying to finish off the Ottawa Senators. The Audi Performance Play brought to you by your local New England Audi dealers. Experience Audi Quattro all-wheel drive tonight.
The one-timer by Krug on the power play on a nice feed from David Krejci. Gets blocked down, but that power eye again with Lucic and Iginla allows Ginla to find that loose puck. The quick release beats Leonard through the legs. That gave the Bruins a 1-0 lead. The power play being a weapon. And Jerome Iginla, the first 24 games as a Bruin, he only had 4 goals. He was a +12. He was doing a lot of good things. But he's been hot lately.
Marchand and Smith 2-on-1 against Cowan. Smith scores! That's how they do it in practice every single day.
2-on-1s in practice are the best drill you can do, because when you get the 2-on-1 opportunities, you want to make them count. And I love this little fake. It starts by Marchand, just tipping that puck past Carlson. Carlson's thinking, we're down 2, I got to stay up in the offensive zone. It's a bad decision. But Cowan makes the mistake of biting on the little fake shot by Marchand. That subtle little fake. The defenseman makes the mistake of putting his stick as if he wants to deflect that 2-on-1 shot. It opens up a wide lane to Riley Smith, in this case on the opposite side. His one-timer is just inside the post. They even caught a little piece of it, but a well-executed 2-on-1. The Bruins taking advantage of a pinching Carlson to give themselves a 3-0 lead.
Carl Soderberg. Now Matt Fraser, the backhand in on Leonard. He steers the puck to the end boards. Pajot straight up the middle of his own zone. Ceci jumping up on the rush. Zibanejad shot a little off balance as Spooner put the body on him. And Rask clamps down. This is how it got to be a 3-goal lead.
Right off the face-off, Spencer does a decent job of getting the puck back, but Carlson trying to pitch down, can't get there in time. Again, the long stick. It hurt Marchand on the high sticking penalty when he tried to go around MacArthur in the first period. But right there, it helps to reach that puck. Chip it by Carlson, don't lose any speed, but I love the subtle little fake shot to open up the passing lane. That was a thing of beauty.
We're going to make Riley Smith stand in line at immigration for 2 hours every day.
Now that gives him the team lead in goals, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Did you already mention that?
No, I did not, but nice throw-in in the trade on the 4th of July. Paille off the boards, Campbell back to Paille. Bounces into McQuaid, who does nicely to keep the puck in the attacking zone. Perron going shoulder to shoulder, and Greiber gives him a little pop, and this is the beautiful thing about a home-and-home set on back-to-back nights. Rask makes the save, the rebound tumbles out. Smith's backhander, and the referee loses sight of the puck because Tuukka Rask got control of it. And now the tempers begin to simmer. And numbers are taken. Both teams knowing they'll fly to Ottawa tonight, and they'll meet in less than 24 hours. On Nesson, by the way.
Well, Ottawa trying to stay in this hockey game with just over 8.5 to go in the third period, down by 3. And they're able to create something. They don't really have numbers. This is basically 4-on-4. But they get a second chance opportunity when the Bruins don't box out well enough. It was Zach Smith on the backhand, and Rask has to be positioned and track the puck. Of course, Chris Neal's going to mix things up every opportunity he gets, as will McQuaid. But just to finish that thought on Iginla before the Bruins got their 3rd goal, just the 4 goals, Jack, in the first 24, but he was a +12 playing on that line. They were doing a lot of good things. He just wasn't finding the back of the net. Now he's got 7 goals in his last 14 games. Oh, and by the way, +11 in that stretch.
Yeah, he's good. Although his stick isn't in real good shape right now. It shatters in his hands. Lucic with a big hit on Clark MacArthur. Turris. Ryan gets it in deep. Ottawa wants a change. Almost lost in this flurry of impressive offensive hockey is that Tuukka Rask was excellent in the first period. Lucic takes the Krejci pass, the Johnny Rocket, and they're looking for an exit wound. That one just sticks in the body of Robin Leonard.
Kick off your New Year's Eve with the Bees. Limited tickets are available to see the Bruins take on the Islanders this Tuesday at 7 p.m. right here at TD Garden. Can't find the tickets you want? Be the first to know if additional tickets become available when you sign up to get last-minute ticket alerts by email or text at bostonbruins.com/ticket alerts.
Shots on goal leaders for the Bruins, Johnny Boychuk and Riley Smith with 5 apiece. There's Ryan Spooner in the defensive gap. Matt Fraser off the boards. He goes for a spin and a tumble. Zibanejad bounces the pass forward to Conrad, flattens the puck nicely, wrists it up the boards. Pajot and Seidenberg, a pair of 44s into the corner. Zibanejad tries to chuck it in front, but it's off Fraser's legs. Conrad snaps the puck down to the corner. Conrad picks it up, goes past the dot, and runs into Fraser's check. Krug guns it off the boards. It wiggles and wobbles and skids across the line, and it will go for icing.
Well, once again, the speed of Ryan Spooner just doesn't relegate itself to offense. Take away the middle of the ice. If you have a defenseman pitching down the wall, maybe Seidenberg's trying to keep things in the offensive end. Be the first man back through the middle, and his speed, he's able to jump to a loose puck and make a good defensive play.
Neal's shot saved by Rask. .707 to go in the game. And kind of at that juncture where the Bruins would like to snuff out some hope for Ottawa. The Sens looking for a spark.
Yeah, a little barking going on by this line for Ottawa with Neal on the right, Greening on the left, and Zach Smith in the middle. And no surprise that the 4th unit will come out along with McQuaid on the back end.
There's some bite as well as some bark. Mathot drives one into McQuaid's legs. It bounces off the end boards. Bartkowski and Neal slam. Caron chops it forward to Campbell. Campbell swerves over the spoke B. Tosses the puck into Zach Smith's legs. Smith off the stick of Caron. Ryba bounces it all the way through on Rask. Neal taking it back of the goal. Gets around McQuaid. Fires the shot on Rask, who was square to the puck.
You know, it'd be easy for Rask to look away from a potential shot to see what's going on in front of him, because Neal has his back to the Bruin goal with that quick spin. But Rask once again tracking the puck well.
Chara to Boychuk. Up the wall. Bergeron gets a piece of the puck, but Cowan clamps down on it. Carlson's wing-to-wing pass into Zibanejad's skates. Off the corner boards. Carter and Chara. Chara gets the stick on one side, the body around the other, and wins the puck battle. Carlson off the boards. Ryan against Riley Smith. Ryan, nice move, but he steers himself right into Bergeron in front of Marchand, and he can't get the puck past Leonard. Bergeron with a beautiful pass to Marchand, but he couldn't finish the move.
Marchand tried to slide it back under Leonard, maybe through the 5-hole. If he just held it, he had the upper half of the net to himself.
Krejci on Leonard, Iginla jamming and jamming, and finally Leonard gets control of the puck. 5:20 to go in the game. Riley Smith moves past Milan Lucic to take the team lead with his 13th goal this season. Save of the game came on the opening shift, brought to you by Digital Federal Credit Union. What can DCU save you?
Not a good opening period by Boston, and this was indicative of just how sharp they weren't. A lot of black jerseys in the neighborhood, but nobody managing the puck and nobody picking up MacArthur except for Tuukka Rask. And you pointed it out, Jack, just moments ago. Maybe lost in all of this because the Bruins have exploded for 3 goals, another power play goal. The guys that they've been leading on with all the injuries, Iginla, Krejci, the Bergeron line, everybody on the score sheet tonight, but Rask was there when they needed him most in that first period.
Icing here, 9 Bruins with points, and Tuukka Rask with 31 saves between the pipes for Boston, 15 of them coming in that first period.
Well, the Bruins are on their way with 5:10 to go here in the third period to extending that home streak to 13-0-2. in their last 15.
Conacher bats the puck past Seidenberg, but Seidenberg makes the recovery, and Krug is the next layer. Seidenberg goes for a hard tumble. He is not getting up. Now barely back to his feet. Krug drives one toward goal. Seidenberg now gliding toward the Boston bench. And he's going to walk right down the tunnel. Cause for concern right there. Krejci risks the puck off the boards to Iginla. Back to Krejci now. Lucic lets the puck flow right on through to Iginla. Iginla ties up with Mathot. Chips it to Krejci. Backs to the dot. Lucic to McQuaid. Loads up the wrist shot. Blocker saved by Leonard. Bartkowski pitches down to the half boards. Lucic scoots out of the corner. Now sends it around for Iginla. Iginla holds off Ceci. Backhands it to the apron of the goal. Spooner slices through, or should I say Spooner knifes through. Now Lucic trying to go cross. I saw Condra's stick. Bartkowski to Iginla. Bartkowski swats at it. The puck pops up high. Iginla takes a hit from McCulloch to knock it in deep. Mathot deliberately out of his own zone. Desperate time for Ottawa. Down 3 goals with less than 4 minutes to go, and the puck comes into the Boston bench. And all eyes on Dennis Seidenberg when he went down.
Yeah, he's locked up in an awkward position with Conacher. And I guess the good news is Conacher's not a heavy guy, because that right leg's extended. Boy. The foot's turned down and in. That's exposure in a real ugly kind of way. Managed to get himself up. Give you an idea just how tough a kid he is and how powerful and strong he is. And you hope it's just something that's going to be momentarily discomforting.
Well, you see that hyperextension direction, that's just an ugly geometry. You got to hope that it's just something that hurts and doesn't tear. Peugeot closes. The shot rattles off Boychuk's legs. Cowan at the blue line. Wrists it off the stick of Fraser, and it floats into the protective netting. Now, you know, the Bruins medical staff is outstanding in so many different ways, but Claude Julien often is not available to the media for extended periods after games because he's getting an immediate consultation from the medical staff, and Peter Chiarelli's in on that as well. And they're maybe in a position where they're going to have to make a decision based on the prognosis for Seidenberg, because they got to travel and play in Ottawa tomorrow night.
Yeah, and the chances of getting a guy here to make the plane tonight is pretty slim. It's a possibility, but if not, then you're talking about travel on a game day, which is never really a good thing, because the Bruins are at a bare minimum right now with their roster.
Yep. You look at the guys who are hurt for Boston still. You know, Louis Eriksson, Chris Kelly, Dougie Hamilton. And Kevin Miller used up his 9 games. And they sent him back to Providence. They could be between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, and they got a suspended guy out of the lineup too.
Yep, Sean Thornton serving number 9. And that's not going to be over until that West Coast trip. Unless he goes to arbitration and the arbiter chooses to shorten the suspension. Bergeron in the slot. The puck wouldn't cooperate. Smith scores! 7 consecutive games with 2 goals for a player, equaling the franchise's longest streak in history from 1929.
Well, when you're hot, the puck starts to find you. But this is Patrice Bergeron again, Jack. Stick check, skate check, pursue the puck. Marchand gets there first, read and react, keep the play alive, and there's Riley Smith just following up the play. I'll be third man. If this puck finds its way to me, I'm in a position to get a quick release off. It doesn't have to be hard. Marchand with a little traffic. But I just love the work ethic late in the hockey game by this line, Bergeron in particular. There's no shortcuts in his game. There's no shifts off. You know, the game's in hand. You got to play again tomorrow. You know, maybe a chance to catch your breath, to start preparing for a game again tomorrow night with travel. Nope. Play it to the final buzzer and keep the good habits. They're rewarded.
Well, that's the way the guys whose sweater numbers hang from the rafters always played, including one of your teammates, number 77. practices in Wilmington would be like Game 5 of a Stanley Cup series. Smith's shot goes right over the bar as Ottawa tries to get on the board in the final 2 minutes. Neal punches the puck back into the Boston zone. Gregory Campbell calms things down, feeds Jordan Caron. The long wrist shot in on Leonard. He dumps it out and the clock continues to run. Greive works his way out of the Ottawa zone. Krejci with an interesting turn, and Greive was confronted with some geometry he couldn't solve. That kind of dropped off at algebra. Here comes Krejci flying through the neutral zone. Lucic down the half boards for a Ginla in front.
Mine ended with arithmetic.
Yeah, but you were a good athlete. Spezza inside, outside the shot, rattles around. Rask comes across the goal and makes Carlson's shot go off the side netting. Penalty coming up against Boston. Jared Cowan wrists into McCulloch. Carlson's blast. Rask out at the top of his crease, and the puck bounces up into the protective netting with 55.5 seconds to go in the game, and the Bruins will be skating 4 against 6. One would think.
Interference call against McQuaid. I believe he knocked down Conacher. Conacher's gone down pretty easy a number of times tonight. McQuaid's going to clean him out. Get that left knee in behind him, but that's a sell job again. Conacher's trying to draw 3 or 4 penalties tonight. Had not been successful until just now.
Patrice Bergeron tied with Joe Thornton for 18th place in Boston Bruins point scoring history. Matt Bartkowski loads up, and my speculation was incorrect. Ottawa has not pulled the goalie in order to try to get on the board in the final minute.
Yeah, I had you for too many men.
The great minor penalty interference in 1904.
If only that little counter works tonight, you know? All right, a reminder, we're back with you tomorrow night from Ottawa. And the Senators are going to have a score to settle. Erik Karlsson can't penetrate the line. Marchand has a breakaway from center ice. He digs and scores! Brad Marchand!
He deserves one tonight. Run one off the crossbar post in the first period. Had a great chance in the third period when he tried to slide it back onto Leonard when he had really more options. A lot easier up here. But this is a great finish. Pretty simple. Attack with speed. Little pump fake to the forehand. Pull it back in. Even with a rolling puck, he's able to get it to settle down. And not to be lost on this play was the Bruins structure on the penalty kill. The 4 across. We showed you earlier the game on the Berkshire Bank exciting rewind, where the 2 forwards take away the wings. The D stand up. The good tandem. And it was Boychuk with the poke check that allowed Marchand the breakaway. Shorthand.
6th shorthanded goal that the Bruins have scored this season. The 5th allowed by Ottawa this season. In their enthusiasm, the fans behind Tuukka Rask have rattled a stanchion out of place between 2 panels of glass. So that'll give us time to check out the game report, brought to you by the all-new Sierra. That's professional grade. It has been a slow start and an impressive finish for the Boston Bruins.
Well, it's the core players, Jack, again, that are all over the score sheet tonight. Something we talked about earlier in the hockey game, the production that they've gotten. Smith with a pair tonight, and Ginla on the power play. Marchand short-handed. David Krejci with a goal to extend that 1-0 lead to 2. That was huge at the time. I'll tell you, the Bruins looked like they had some time off in the first period, but man, if they've been good in the next 40.
9 players with points. Multi-point games for Riley Smith, Patrice Bergeron, and Brad Marchand.
Brad Marchand at 19.
Wes McCauley taking the abuse of the puck down in the corner. The drive from MacArthur blocked in front as both Campbell and Paille got in the way. So Tuukka Rask can record his 4th shutout of his season, the 20th of his career. And the Bruins secure a 5-0 thumping victory over the Ottawa Senators. That was the way they wanted to finish, Dale.
It's exactly what they were looking for as the Boston Bruins upend the Ottawa Senators 5-0. Coming up on Ace Ticket Bruins Overtime Live, we'll have reaction from the Bruins dressing room. Head coach Claude Julien will go one-on-one with Jamie Erdahl, and we'll preview tomorrow night's rematch in the second half of the home and home. Ace Ticket Bruins Overtime Live coming up next.